Hello, hello, hello. I'm so sorry. I'm about 2 minutes late here. I was busy trying to select a few dates to do that REO and BPO training that we talked about in that other post. There is a pinned post in the Breakthrough for Real Estate Agents group that I offered to do some REO and BPO training for independent brokers or want to be independent brokers. Let's put it that way too. All right. If you've got desire or plans on the horizon for yourself to become an independent broker this year, then this might be something that would interest you if it's going to be something you consider doing in the next couple of years, jumping into REO and BPO work. Okay. You know, we know what's about to happen in our market, don't we? Right? So, a few of us who foresee these things happening, are preparing to take that stream of income and develop it again. I am not. Okay. I did REO and BPO work for 12 years. I worked through the last recession that way, and it's not something that I want to pony up and do again. Okay. But I can certainly help you do that if you've got the energy to do it. Let's put it that way, right? We all have different seasons in our life, and we all have different goals for our businesses. So if I were, 20 years younger, right, and I were in a growth mode for my business as I was back in 2005, 7, 9, 10, when we were growing our business, we absolutely jumped on that the last time we saw this dip happen in the market. Okay. Today, I want to talk about Who Moved My Cheese, right? This is an excellent book. And if you've never read this book, I want to encourage you to look for it and find it, because this book is it's a cute, simple story, to be honest with you, but it really illustrates the necessity to have an open mindset when it comes to change. Okay. So our industry is about to undergo some serious changes. I'm going to assume that you've probably heard about the class action lawsuit now that has been stepped up, that's against NAR and a couple of the larger real estate firms, right? That is a pivotal moment in our industry. This could be a very pivotal moment if you're listening and watching to what's happening in that lawsuit. Okay. So don't think for 1 minute that change cannot be on the horizon. Okay. It's when you feel like you have to hunker down into your habits and your status quo, and you don't put your head up and see what's happening, that's when the shit really hits the fan. Let me tell you what, because if you don't watch these things happening and you don't pivot and move, so that's kind of what I want to talk about. What do I mean by when I say pivot your business? What does that mean, right? I want to really dive into that conversation today. When I say it's time to pivot your business, that means it's time to lift your head up and take a look at what's happening around you, right? And if you're still an agent, or if you have a thought about getting your broker license in the future, I want to encourage you to get signed up for that course and that license this month, right? Because you can no longer afford to put that desire on the back burner. Okay. And I'll tell you why when I do that REO and BPO training. I think I'm going to do it towards the end of May. I'm going to put a poll out in the group. I'm going to get some feedback as to what would be better date for those who wanted that type of training. And then we'll come on board. But I've made some phone calls to some old colleagues, and they've called me, of course, like I said in my post, wanting to fire up the old war engine again, right? That's exactly what he said. We're firing up the war engine. right? The REO and BPO war engine is firing back up. That's exactly what he said. So they're revitalizing all of the old listing broker relationships, especially those, who closed transactions. Like I said, I did that for 12 years. I'm on their high closer list. That's what he said to me. So, I'm not jumping on that bandwagon again myself. And I explained to him, I don't have the team in place that I had before. That's why I say it's a growth, it's a growth stage in your business, right? And you don't ever want to even think about doing that if you're a licensed real estate agent and you're not a broker. Okay, so we'll dive deeper into that when we do that training. Okay, but what do I mean when I say pivot your business? I mean, that's when you have to look hard and you have to think about what's going to transpire over the next 2 to 5 years. What are some things that can change in our industry if some of these lawsuits come to fruition, right? If our economy really tanks like we expect it's going to, what are some of these changes that are inevitably going to come about because of these stressors that our economy is experiencing today, right? One concept is that the buyer's agent will become obsolete. That's a distinct possibility. I watched a YouTube video. I can't even tell you the guy's name, but he's very eloquent and he really pointed out some really good aspects, of what could transpire from this class action lawsuit. So it was very interesting. So one of them was, what happens if the buyer's agent becomes obsolete? That's where the independent broker is really going to be vital, aren't they? Right? If only one agent controls the buyer and the listing, what's that going to look like for your future? If you're buyer specific, if you're buyer heavy, I suggest you start pivoting your business and focusing on shifting to listing and serving. Now, we all talk about being a listing agent and this, if you want to be a lister, list to last, all that kind of, cliche stuff that has been, coined for 50 years, to be honest with you. But it doesn't really sink in sometimes, does it? The listing, whoever controls the listing is really going to be in control of the transaction, aren't they? And let's take that a step further. Didn't I say last week that it's all about the data, isn't it? And I'm sure that you just heard or saw an article that Black Knight has been purchased now for $13 billion by the largest company you've never even heard of, right? You've never even heard of this damn company called ICE, but yet they just stepped up and stroked a check for $13 billion and purchased Black Knight. Now, Black Knight is a huge data company, right? So whoever controls the data controls the leads, don't they? Right? All right. So don't underestimate what's happening out there in the market and pay attention to what is attuned and what's happening in your market. So when I say that, for example, just to let me slow my roll a little bit, I'll tell you a little story. I had about 4 rental properties that came on the market this week. And so, boom, I'm, as soon as they hit the market, I'm inundated with credit applications because we don't charge an application fee up front. We have a free link that we collect applications, and then our owners will select from those who have made application even before they've looked at the unit, so that's how we operate with rentals. So the story I heard, the underlining story when I'm interviewing these folks is, and looking at their applications, the pattern on them, a lot of them, probably 4 or 5 out of 15, that's almost a third, right? of renters who were being displaced because their landlord was selling the home. Okay, so that was like, this is what's happening, right? This is what's happening. Non-owner occupied rental properties that have always been rental properties for years and years and years because they were purchased right. You know, if they were purchased right, it's an ideal time for someone who's holding a rental property to liquidate. You know, they're not liquidating their primary residence because there's no place to go, but they've got a rental property that's holding a buttload of equity, right? Now is the time to sell. Those are the probably who you would like to focus on maybe in your market. Or focus on, for example, take a look at probates. That's a situation where people have to sell or have to list. So if this isn't something that you've ever looked into in the past, focus on it, all right? Whatever you focus on is what's going to come your way. So if you want to pivot your business to be a listing agent, pivot all of your marketing. And I'm not talking about posting on your on your Facebook page that you list and sell property, right? Whenever you combine your marketing message as far as list or buy or list, that's two messages, right? Clean that up. Focus on just seller messages, right? Just message and speak to sellers. Don't try and mix your marketing message with buyer and seller, okay? And I get it. Sellers become buyers and buyers become sellers, but in marketing world, it's more psychology than anything, right? And if you want to focus on sellers, trim that marketing message down to messages that reach sellers, okay? Typically, or not typically, but for example, like I'm going to create a Facebook ad now that's going to speak directly to those who are holding rental properties that would like to liquidate this year, okay? This is going to be the year to do it. This is going to be the year to do it because, you know, in about 2 years, it's going to be a different market, okay? You got to know that in 2 years, it's going to be a different market, okay? Is it going to be higher? Is it going to be lower? We don't know. But eventually, the straw breaks the camel's back every time, okay? The straw breaks the camel's back. Right? If you've got REO war engines that are getting fired back up, they're anticipating an onslaught of business. And he told me probably about the end of 2023 into 2024, it's no longer going to be important to pay the mortgage. It's going to be important to put food on the table. And that's what's going to happen to the consumer. Okay? So, you know, like I said, it'll pivot, it'll change. You need to be poised for that market, okay? That's what I want to, stress to you today is to really think about how much control you're going to have over your business if you are not your own broker in, a year or two from now. How much control are you going to have when the market shifts and changes, when buyers are no longer represented and they go directly to the listing agent? I know that's mind-blowing, right? That is mind-blowing, isn't it? But other countries function that way. It's not so far-fetched, right? It's not a far-fetched concept, okay? It's not something that can't be evolved into, all right? So I want you to think now in advance. Get your license. And if you already got your license, but you haven't quite stepped out yet, right? You haven't quite stepped out from underneath your broker's umbrella and you need some help, that's what I do, okay? I help independent agents transition to be a boutique brokerage, right? You may be a team of less than 5 agents, and you guys can absolutely rock it when you get all of the pieces of puzzle in place. So if you've been hesitant to make that step off, talk to me. Okay. All right. So I'm going to leave you with that piece of information, and go ahead and find this book, Who Moved My Cheese? Right. I really want you to check out this book. Like I said, it's a cute little story. It might take you an hour to read it, but it's a cute little book about really, really, really opening your mind up to changes. And you have to understand that you can't sit still, right? Because someone's going to move your cheese and you're not going to know where to go or what to do or how to do things or how to feed yourself, right? You have to constantly be looking for more and new cheese. Okay. I'll leave you with that bit of information. Okay. So have a great Friday, right? And let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Okay. Hit me up in Messenger if you need anything. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.